Do not make your dream game. That's your first game at least. I'm sure you've all heard this before, but somebody didn't get the memo. It's good advice, honestly, because here I am making this video. So basically, I wanted to make a survival stealth horror game. So you can think of something like Rockstar's infamous Manhunt, where you have all the sneaking and the brutal gameplay. You can mix it in with a story like Hostile by Eli Roth, where you get kidnapped by like a bunch of psychos and you have to escape. So I had a clear vision in mind, and I knew exactly what I wanted to make. I would give myself roughly a year to conceptualize and come up with a demo, which is super generous, by the way. But in the end, with only half a demo to show for it, I just decided to scrap everything. A lack of motivation was ultimately what I think killed my game, so I'd like to put this down in the video to remind myself, if not warn others, of what exactly not to do. By the way, if what I'm about to say seems quite obvious, that's because it probably is. I just lack something called common sense. Hindsight is 20/20, as always. So, the biggest problem for me was that there were way too many things to do, and things to do alone. Like, already at the beginning, I had a feeling that I overscoped, but I still thought that I could manage, you know? I wanted to learn all these things and know every little thing about my game. Full control. No assets, everything from scratch. I wanted a decent story, 16 levels, 16 weapons.
16 times the detail.
I looked at my super long to-do list and thought that all I needed was time. If I didn't know it, I could learn it, no problem. So sure, you can learn everything, but what I underestimated was the absolute psychic damage that working alone for a really long time with nothing to show can do to you. I started out fine, excited. All I could think about was working on the game, all the ideas I could implement at every stage. But eventually, it just becomes a chore, because doing everything from start to the end isn't easy. Duh, but you need to tick all these boxes just to get something in front of you. It's not like a group project in high school or uni where you have someone else to fall back on, to keep you in check or to critique your work. You know, that suffer together feeling. In solo game dev, if you don't work, nothing gets done. Like halfway through, when I realized all that had to be done, the time needed to get everything done, just to even get the simple demo going, not even mentioning the full game, my motivation just tanked. Now, the second big problem was going into game dev for the wrong reason. So, hear me out. It's in the name, right? Game. The purpose is to have fun, to have an entertaining gameplay loop. I, on the other hand, wanted to develop a game because I could build detailed systems. I watched a lot of critiques and reviews of games where they said like how this could be improved and that could be improved, and I was like, hell yeah, I could do that better. So I made this health system that takes into account where an enemy was hit, like how much blood they would lose and what they would do because of that. And I made an enemy that glances at you when you enter their field of vision, and every time you do, they glance a bit faster. I was focusing on the details and then building the game around that, which does not work. All these details are pointless when the game isn't even fun. And when I was playing my demo, I didn't even notice half the things I put in. Alright, so what's the takeaway from all this? Well, my biggest advice to my old self would be to, number one, maybe start using more assets. Anything that gets the job done. No point reinventing the wheel, right? Number two, probably get a fun little prototype out as soon as possible and have people test it. Think extremely small, like Pac-Man, with guns. Just flesh out the extremely bare-bones gameplay loop and see if your game is actually fun to play. And then make sure to get some feedback so you know you're on the right track. Number three, it's probably a good idea to use something like Trello to organize your progress. I didn't do it at first because I didn't want to see how long the list would get, but yeah, in the end, you gotta do what you gotta do. So, after all this tragedy, I still do have a new project in mind, something small, and hopefully sticking to these steps, I can actually follow through this time.